Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, A Cinderella Story Thriving with Codependency. This is my second attempt at this video because my daughter blew up and I dropped my phone off the balcony. So round two. This video today is going to be about trauma bonding. A lot of people ask victims of abuse, especially like narcissistic abuse, why they stayed so long, and people don't understand it, and they think like you must have been happy or wanted the abuse, I've heard, or crazy things like that. um, but it's because of a phenomenon called trauma bonding. So trauma bonding, you might be in a trauma bonded relationship if you're with someone that you're trying to fix, they're damaged in some sort, and you feel like you're the one person on earth that can help them. Also, you feel trapped. Other people may not understand why you're in the relationship and be giving you advice to leave and things like that, and you're just not seeing it. Um, uh, to have a trauma bond, I remember it by ICIP. So your relationship has to have a high level of intensity that you may see as passion or see this person as your soulmate. The C stands for like confusing or chaotic. So that's another aspect of a trauma bonded relationship. And then inconsistency. So the person says one thing, does another thing. And then the last part is the P, which is the promise. So that is the most qualifying factor of a trauma bonded relationship. So as the victim, you're always kind of in a state of confusion. What the person's doing and saying doesn't add up, but there's these brief euphoric um, periods of time where everything seems perfect. And if you're with a narcissist, it started with the love bombing, which is a term for in the beginning when they have mirrored all of your desirable attributes and what you're looking for in a partner. They pretend to be that person that you've divulged to them is what you're looking for, and they'll love bomb you with gifts, love, texting all day, giving you all the compliments that you ever could dream of, telling you that you're soulmates, social media, this is love of my life, telling all their friends that they finally found the one, like that kind of thing. So when they change back to who they really are, you're in a state of total just heartbreak, and you're confused and you don't understand how this person that you thought was completely one way is acting completely different now. So that's the inconsistency. For me, there was all these promises, and my ex had a substance abuse problem. So he would say he wanted to change and say that he loved his family and he wanted this and he wanted that, but his actions weren't lining up. So I would, slowly go insane. And I saw a really funny meme today that was like, arguing with a narcissist is like, and then it was something along the lines of like, four chickens and seven whatever doesn't add up because aliens wear masks. It absolutely made no sense, and that's what arguing with him was like. I'd be trying to ask about one thing, and it would be like he would bring up things that had nothing to do with what we were talking about, and I would get confused. And I usually, towards the end of the relationship, would just back down because he'd end up getting aggressive in some way, like he put holes in the walls or say I was crazy, or I just wasn't smart enough to understand what he was talking about. So very confusing. And then the times that we did, make up, they were so just perfect. Like I would be told, that I was the love of his life, and of course he wouldn't cheat on me, and of course this and that, and he may have made a lot of mistakes, but um, he lied to me a lot, but he would never lie about loving me, and from the moment he met me, I was the one, and he would never cheat on me, and he's sorry he did this and that, but it was just because this and this. So But that the really most important part is the promise. So because they know what your deepest desire is, most codependent people are very forthcoming about, what they desire, because when we're not in our recovery, we look for our healing and our happiness in someone else. So for me, it was, that perfect little family and someone that loved me unconditionally and that was faithful, and, that appreciated all the little things that I would do, um, and that would have my back in return. So as long as he could keep that promise, in the forefront of my mind, then I would remain trauma bonded. So even though from the outside looking in, no one could understand why I was putting up with this, I was told on a regular basis that I was the love of his life. And, like on one occasion, he said, like, I would love to start a savings account for your son so that, just all these things that, like, a loving mother and a loving partner would want, he would pretend to be. So I was in love with the idea of what I could have. And if I look back at it now, I never had that. From the beginning, I was lied to and, misled and cheated on, which I didn't realize. I didn't know about the cheating in the beginning, but I can't honestly say I didn't know he was a liar. I just thought, he was afraid of disappointing me and he needed more compassion, and that's how trauma bonds work. So, I often hear in the support groups that I'm a part of, like, why do I still miss him, or what's wrong with me, or I love him, and even though he did all these terrible things to me. And as hard as it is to say and to admit to ourselves, we were in love with what we wanted that person to be, and that person was really good at pretending to be that. Because if you take an honest look at your relationship, and if someone told you in the beginning that this person was going to do all these things to you, you would have never signed up for that relationship. And they know that. So they'll say and do whatever it takes to convince you that they are what you need and want. Um, be careful. I need to be careful saying what you need, because really all we need as codependents is to find our value, um, and love ourselves, because the person we fell in love with was mirroring us. We're mirroring our morals, our values, our dreams. So everything we fell in love with was really ourselves. And if you can look at it that way, you can heal, and you can, really see what a valuable human being you are, because you were chosen by a narcissist for a reason. You probably are a very unique, loving, compassionate, giving person. And when you can realize that you were targeted because of being a great person or intellectual or having resources, all these things that you accomplished yourself, then you can really learn to love yourself. And I struggle with it all the time, because growing up the way I did, I only felt worthy of love if I was contributing something or taking care of somebody. So it's a really hard habit to break, but I'm getting to the point where I really do understand that I am, a rare, great individual. And, because of the trauma in my past, there's things that I definitely have to work on, like hypervigilance, which is where, you're super alert and, over alert to everything. And, you don't only listen to what a person says, but you watch the way they breathe, why they're saying it, the way their eyes are, their body language, everything. You're just very sensitive to their tone of voice. So sometimes maybe we can misread our other people, but for the most part, I'm learning that our intuition is actually really good. And I grew up learning not to trust my intuition, so that's where my anxiety came from. But, I struggle with, am I just creating this problem in my head, or is this my intuition I should be listening to? And I just have to remind myself that if it doesn't feel good, it really doesn't matter whether I'm being quote unquote crazy or whatever, because 9 times out of 10 I'm not. And if I am, It doesn't matter, because what matters is how I feel in a relationship with somebody. And if they're not making me feel good, then that's a sign that I don't need to be there. My therapist told me once that my anxiety um, was supposed to be there. I had good reason for my anxiety. And it wasn't just, that I was someone that just created anxiety in my head, like living with someone with a drug abuse problem, having children, being on disability at the time, and being pregnant. Um, I had a reason to be anxious. And when my partner's words were not matching up with his actions, I had a reason to be anxious. When money would go missing, I had a reason to be anxious. When women would be messaging him and, the previous messages were all deleted, I had a reason to be anxious. So most of the time, our anxiety comes from a good reason. There's some of us that have anxiety and we can't figure out why at all, because we have a great life right now. But, you have to look back to your family of origin, and did you grow up in an environment where you were hypervigilant and had to be anxious? You had to think about the future. So if so, there's a good chance that you're just stuck in that mode. And, therapy and just really educating yourself about trauma bonds and narcissistic abuse and stuff like that can really help you overcome that. My anxiety is a lot better than it has been for years. So I feel like my anxiety developed probably around like if, like the first I can remember in my teens, but probably it was even before then. And this is the first time in my life I've really like managed it pretty well. And that's, I will say, predominantly from education and loving myself. So there definitely is room to grow and make progress, but trauma bonds, that's why we seem crazy and we have this, ridiculously loyal mindset, and other people don't get it, and we don't even get it until we're able to see what we deserve and, not tolerate the bullshit from day one. That will help prevent us from being engulfed by a trauma bond, because when you know your value, there's nothing to be confused about. It doesn't matter what the other person's intention is. It doesn't matter if they're sorry. All these things, become a non issue when you just decide that you don't have to put up with certain things. And this is coming from somebody who struggles with that. So I'm not saying it's like, ta da, like I'm doing awesome. Like I don't feel insecure anymore. I don't wonder if, I'm the problem, or I don't, you know, have those impulses to want to say, well, they just, had a weak moment or whatever. The way I look at it is this: as much as I've been through in my life and all the pain that I've endured, I still don't cheat on people. I don't lie to people, and I don't break promises to people. So why should I expect any less from somebody that claims they love me? So I hope this helps you guys. This is my little video on trauma bonding, and I hope it helps you guys to thrive with your codependency. Love you guys so much. Bye.